Hello and welcome back. Grant Stone is a company that I've been familiar with for quite a while, and honestly, I've been sleeping on it. You guys have told me time and time again, review Grant Stone, and I've just, there's so many great products out there. They just happen to get pushed aside, and I never saw them again. Now, I've actually seen Grant Stones before this. My buddy Dave from Fragrance Bros, when we were in Atlanta, he brought two pairs of his along, and I was really interested to see them because I had heard so much about the brand, but you can't find them at the mall or your local store. So oftentimes, until you really get your hands on one, it's hard to tell if there's something worth seeing. And I had seen a lot of people comparing these to Allen Edmonds quality. Now, Allen Edmonds is kind of the yardstick that people use for quality, mostly because they've been around for a long time, and almost everybody has either a pair in their closet or somebody that they know has a pair of Allen Edmonds, or they can at the very least go to a store and see what they look like. So oftentimes this is kind of the level that everybody is used to comparing everything else to. So when I heard that these were actually like Allen Edmonds quality or better, like approaching Alden quality, I was a bit skeptical. I mean, they're made in China, that automatically sent up a red flag in my mind. And all that was put to rest when I got these. Now, the model that we're talking about is the Grant Stone Diesel. This goes for $370. It is made in China, but Grant Stone is actually based out of Michigan. This is Goodyear welted, and it's based on the Leo Last. It uses Horween leather, and the interior is actually lined in full-grain cow leather from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It uses brass eyelets. It uses a vegetable tanned leather insole, welt, and midsole. There's cork filler beneath your feet with a triple rib steel shank, full grain leather heel counters, a micro stud rubber sole and heel, and every pair is crafted in China. Now, these are made out of Horween leather, but this is actually their natural Chrome Excel. Some people say Chrome Excel, I'm not really sure, and I don't really care. So anyway, this is their natural color, which I don't own any boots in their natural Chrome Excel, which is pretty interesting. The wonderful thing that everybody likes about this particular leather is its pull-up. The fact that it lightens in color and darkens depending on where it's bent. So you can see, I've been wearing these for a little while now. Most of the product shots that I'll show you are when they were brand new, but I've been wearing these for a little while, so you can see how it's darkened here where the creasing is, and it's lightened there. So they're already getting some nice character to them. And to be honest with you, I'm kind of indifferent about Chrome Excel. It's nice. And if you're going to have a chrome tanned leather or a combination tanned leather, which is what this actually is, this is the one to have. It's great. And the natural color actually does age pretty well. But in comparison to vegetable tanned leathers, which I love, they tend to age a lot more, and they tend to darken and just a richer color overall. A lot of people don't like that though. And there are drawbacks when it comes to vegetable tan leather, especially with footwear. So if you're one of those people who just wants to put boots on, have them look cool, have them look a little bit better down the line, well, then this is perfect. You'll also find brass eyelets and flat waxed laces complementing this very clean design. And I like the fact that these are so understated and simple because it tends to give the boot a more formal appearance. A welcome shift in the world of boots, and the finishing further adds to this level of refinement. Beneath your feet lives a 3 to 4 millimeter leather insole, vegetable tanned out of the bens, which is like the thickest and densest part of a hide. And I want to talk for a second about leather versus synthetic insoles, and midsoles. There are two schools of thought, and I understand both, and it's going to depend on your application. On one side, you have people who like things like Poron, these relatively new technologies which have a wonderful recovery rate. They're pretty damn comfortable right off the bat. They feel like a sneaker. And you'll find this in a lot of boots. The Origin main boots that I reviewed a little while ago, these actually live in those boots. I keep saying live in, I like they're a person. I tend to find myself on the other side though. While I appreciate the comfort and everything that comes with a synthetic insole, I like a leather midsole and insole combination. The reason for this is that over time, you're rewarded with a much more comfortable shoe or boot. It tends to mold to your foot, and when you put them in it, it just feels like they're custom orthotics or something. They're a really great feel, and it takes a little while to get there because what you're doing is compressing that leather, but when it's all said and done, I think that there's just nothing better. And there's also a few other elements that go into why a leather might be a little bit better of an insole material, and one of those is temperature regulation. So if you're wearing, I hate this, but some people wear loafers without socks, which I think is I can't stand the way that looks. But if you do, this actually helps with that. It helps regulate the temperature of your foot so it doesn't feel too hot, because some of those synthetic materials can be insulating. So the leather insole, in my opinion, is a great move, and oftentimes you will find this on higher end shoes. Matter of fact, I can't really think of a shoe or a boot that's over $500 that doesn't use leather for its insole and midsole. Now, this micro stud sole is definitely DayNight inspired. You can tell. I mean, this looks like a DayNight sole. There's the Grant Stone logo there, but one thing that's pretty cool is I like what they've done with the heel here, and they've given you a little bit of ribbing right back here. These are definitely not off-road boots. These aren't something that you would take hiking or to a job site or something like that. These are definitely more casual boots you're going to wear indoors or walking on sidewalks, pavement, that kind of thing. So this sole will work just fine for that. I've been a fan of the DayNight sole for a long time. It's also relatively low profile. So while they're not traction monsters, they're really not supposed to be. I mean, look at this thing. You know, it's a sleek boot. So I do like this sole. It's not bad. It's only really, it really shines in certain situations though. Now, one of the reasons that I like to wear more rugged boots is that they're built extremely sturdy, and I like that support. It just feels really good to me. And one of the things that I've pointed out in the past is if you take a boot that's made really well, this is a NYX Urban Logger, and you try to crush that heel with your fingers, you know, I can't even crush it. There's a lot of leather in there, which is supporting your heel. That's what I'm talking about. Because on the other hand, I'm going to pick on Doc Martens again. You take a boot like this and there's no problem. A lot of times what you'll find beneath this leather is some sort of fiberboard or, you know, just one or two layers of leather, just enough to give it some structure, make it so it doesn't collapse like the rest of this is all unlined. But it really doesn't do much as far as locking your heel in and giving you that feeling. But it doesn't have to be a super rugged boot. These Grant Stones, for example, and I have a cutaway of how they do this. They've taken the time to put that leather in there and really beef up their heel without making it overly, you know, obtrusive. You don't see it sticking out or anything, but it's definitely nice and structured, much more than the Doc Martens. Now, the way that this, number one, it benefits you in the longevity of the boot. When you go and you're putting your foot into it and taking it out of it every single day, if you've ever had a heel collapse on you, which I have, you basically bust that little foam board in the back and then it's kind of, you know, it's just floppy. This is leather, so you can't really break it. It's just going to bend if it does, but it just adds to the structure of the boot over time. And it also helps, this is just me and my mileage, I've noticed that when I walk in a boot with a nice structured heel, it seems to stick to my heel a little bit more. So rather than your heel sliding out of it, when it's nice and structured, it seems to just grip onto your heel and that heel cup is there and it just lifts with your foot. Now, that just might be all in my head. A lot of things are, but I think that it really adds to a much better experience wearing your boots. The thing that really struck me about these boots, though, it's the finishing. The finishing on these boots is above the level of Allen Edmonds, and I would say on par with Alden. So the way to look at finishing is not only, you know, they did a nice job of polishing the heel. All of the stitching is very even. As you see, it goes all the way around. The stitch density is nice and even. All the lines are straight. The thing to look at, or the thing that I've noticed, is when you look at rather complicated areas to make. So right here where they tend to box this stitching in here, not really sure what that's called, this section. On lesser boots, you'll find that that's actually pretty sloppy. Another place to look is where the 360-degree welt, if it is a 360-degree boot, where that matches up. Sometimes this will overlap, or, you know, it'll be just, it doesn't look right. That's why they tend to put it on the inside of the boot rather than the outside of the boot where you would see it. But the way they've done it, they've matched it up perfectly. And you can see where the split is because it is one solid piece that goes around, so it has to match up. But they've done a very nice job of taking care of these little spots, which a lot of times just kind of go... a lot of people they accept a lower level of finishing, and I was really impressed with these, especially for the price. and what they're directly competing against, boy, it is impressive. So what's it like to wear these boots? Well, I can tell you this much. Number one, as you know, I never use comfort as a metric for judging the quality of a boot because everybody's feet are a little bit different. But still, I put these on and I was able to wear them all day without a problem. There was definitely a little bit of softening that had to go on, especially up around the ankle and where your foot bends. That's pretty typical though. There's not a lot of a break-in period here. They felt pretty good right off the bat, and when I brought them home and took them off at night, I had no pains or aches or hot spots or anything like that. So I think that you can throw them on and not have to worry about bringing another pair of shoes with you to change out because these are just kind of torture. That's not an issue. And also Chrome Excel is pretty damn supple, so you don't have to worry about the leather being super, super rigid as sometimes brand new vegetable tan leather can be. So I think what these boots represent is not only an extremely good alternative to bigger brands like Allen Edmonds, they're actually superior in many, many ways. And also what they do is they show you that high quality goods can be found from around the globe. There are master craftsmen and craftswomen and people working in high levels of quality control in every nation on earth. The problem is that we're so used to turning over something that's just cheap feeling and seeing made in China. But that's just one factory in a gigantic country. So there are people who make crap. There's people who make crap in the US or in England. I mean, there's both living everywhere. So to think that everything coming out of Japan or everything coming out of the US is extremely high quality, this is not the case. It has to be on a case-by-case basis. And the great thing about these is that Grant Stone is proud about making their stuff in China, and looking at the results, I can see why. So it adds a little bit more weight and a little bit more, you get a better feeling about something that's made in China rather than, oh boy, it's made in China, because that's the stereotype that's just developed over years. And I gotta say, it's well deserved. There have been plenty of stuff that I've bought which I see it's been made in China and it falls apart. These, on the other hand, are flying right in the face of that, and it's refreshing to see. So, if you have a pair of Grant Stones, or, I've been snoozing on these, that doesn't mean that you should too. Let me know your experiences, please, below in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Really appreciate it. Catch you next time.